The dynamic duo of Jim Jones and Camron, who once ruled Harlem streets and stages together, have just been caught in the middle of a violent and emotional fight that has fans questioning everything they thought they knew about brotherhood, loyalty, and trust in the hip-hop world. This was not just a disagreement, not a war of words online, but a full-blown physical altercation surrounded by shocked witnesses, raw emotion, and a boiling rage that had clearly been building behind the scenes for why everyone is asking the same question. What could have caused this level of betrayal between two brothers who came up from nothing together? That's just the beginning. Sources close to the situation claim that this feud was years in the making, with jealousy, ego, and a secret betrayal at the center of it. It all exploded at an exclusive industry event where tensions were already running high, and what happened there has now gone viral, with leaked footage tearing the internet apart. Fans who once idolized their friendship are now heartbroken. With hashtags like #DITSAD divided and #JimStam dominating social media trends, the drama only gets worse from here. According to one insider, this wasn't just about money, this was personal, deep personal. What Cam said to Jim that night, you don't come back from that. Suddenly, the friendship that once stood tall as a symbol of Harlem pride has fallen apart under the weight of anger, secrets, and unforgivable words. Allegations are flying, private conversations have been leaked. Family members have stepped in, and celebrities like Fat Joe and Remy Ma are reacting. The scene was set in a lavish, dimly lit VIP lounge in downtown Manhattan, where only the elite congregate, and legends like Jim Jones and Camron are treated like royalty. The velvet ropes were in place, the champagne was flowing, and the music pulsed with the swagger of Harlem's golden era. So, what really went down between Jim Jones and Camron? What set them off? Is this the last chapter in a brotherhood that defined an era, or is there still hope for redemption? Grab your popcorn, because this story has it all. At the surface of this glittering celebration, a storm that had been building for years was about to explode and destroy everything in its path. At first, everything appeared to be calm until Jim Jones arrived wearing a designer fur coat, diamond-studded chain, and glistening under the club lights. Camron entered just minutes later, dressed to kill in his signature pink flare eyes, scanning the room like the general surveying enemy territory. You could sense something was off because there was immediately a woman by the bar asked, clutching her phone as if it were recording gold. Yo, why, they ain't acknowledge each other. Didn't they grow up together? What's going on? The question hung heavy in the air like thick smoke. Then, a mutual acquaintance who was unaware of the mounting tension attempted to mediate the situation by saying, Yo, Cam, come over here. Jim got some big announcement. You all need to talk, said with a smile, attempting to maintain harmony. But as soon as Camron arrived, it became evident that this would not be a reunion. Jim didn't stand, didn't smile, just stared hilariously at how people only want to talk when cameras are on. Jim said icily, his voice cutting through the music like a blade. The room went silent, and Cam said, I see you still bitter, folding his arms. Always playing the victim, ain't nothing changed. Witnesses report that Jim got up so quickly that his chair toppled, and security guards hurried in, but it was too late. Jim yelled, You a snake? You being a snake? And pushed Jin in the chest, shattering loose glasses, smashing a table, ripping off Cam's chain, and tearing Chen's shirt at the collar. The two Legends brothers, betrayed by the game's enemies, then broke into a full-on brawl that broke out. Would be replayed on social media millions of times in a matter of hours, and the video leaked in a matter of minutes. Fans were shocked, thinking, is this real? Oh, no, this has to be staged. What happened to Dipset loyalty? This wasn't clout chasing, this wasn't promotion, this was personal. And what the public didn't yet realize was that this fight wasn't just about egos. This wasn't just about pride, and this explosion came from a betrayal that was buried deep in their shared past, a wound that had never healed and was now open. The cracks had been forming for years since the Dipset empire started to collapse. Under internal chaos in the early 2000s, according to insiders, Jim found that Cam had been making site deals, exclusive sponsorships, club appearance contracts, and even music licensing deals without telling the rest of the group. Cam was eat off the name we built together, a close associate claimed, and he didn't even throw crumbs. Jim felt betrayed and disrespected. But Camron had started building his solo brand while he was constantly in his shadow despite being one of the architects of the Dipset sound. For years, he kept it inside until that night in the club after the fight. When Cam left with a bruised cheek and a torn shirt, Jim was escorted out the back, his voice still resonating down the alley. Then there was chaos, as news outlets immediately picked up the story. Every gossip blog on the planet, including TMZ, Shade Room, World Star, attempted to minimize the incident, saying it was just a misunderstanding between two longtime friends and nothing serious. But Jim wouldn't have it. I tried to keep it real for Yaris, but when you threw dirt on my name, I kept my mouth shut. I watched you manipulate lies and take food out of people's mouths. But last night, you crossed the line, and fans flooded the comments with people saying, "Is this the end of Dipset? It's not so, Jim Cam. You have to explain." But Cameron, ever calculated, dropped a cryptic story instead of a live. Just a black screen with white letters. Snakes get mad, when people began taking sides and rumors started to circulate. One insider claimed that Cam had been secretly in negotiations with Netflix for a documentary series about Dipset without Jim's knowledge, while another claimed that Cam had already recorded a diss track months earlier in anticipation of a fallout. However, the biggest bombshell was yet to come. A former tour manager for Dipset came forward with a claim that rocked the internet. Cam was the reason Jim lost out on a seven-figure clothing deal, savaged it behind his back as the world was still processing that fight, which was being replayed every second and zoomed in on every frame. Something else happened that sent fans into a tailspin. It was a leaked phone call, an audio clip purportedly recorded by a Dipset affiliate, in which Cam is heard making fun of Jim's hustle, calling him emotional and saying he only toughs when the camera is on. That was the final nail in the coffin, and the comment sections erupted with rage and heartbreak. Really said that this hurts more than any breakup because as the sun went down on that crazy day, it became painfully clear that this wasn't just a fight. This was the end of an era. But what really happened during those early years that led to this explosion? Who else knew? Are there more secrets about to be revealed? One anonymous industry source told one of the most popular hip-hop bloggers that the real drama is just getting started. The events that transpired over the course of the next 48 hours, as promised, completely turned the story on its head. Dark fans started to question whether their favorite Harlem duo had been living a lie all along when images of dozens of private text messages and direct messages purportedly between Jim and a former Dipset business associate began to circulate online. In the messages, Jim opens up about how he felt excluded from business decisions and how he thought Cam used him for clout. It wasn't just about a physical altercation, egos, or even money anymore. This was deeper, personal, and involved betrayal, manipulation, and secrets. These weren't just angry words. They were the confessions of a man who felt completely gutted by someone he once called brother. As the screenshots went viral, the internet turned into a battlefield hashtag team. Jim hashtag Team Cam, hashtag Dips, it downfall. It was pure chaos as fans started connecting the dots between old interviews that were rewatched and moments in previous concerts where Jim appeared visibly uncomfortable. He nearly quit music entirely because of how much the betrayal hurt him. "I was going to leave the game, that man broke my spirit, but I remained silent for the culture." Brief, dry responses about camp, and, most notably, that awkward 2017 Hot 97 interview in which Jim broke down in tears while discussing loyalty. At the time, fans thought it was just nostalgia, But now everyone was reconsidering whether he had already felt betrayed, or if this feed had been hiding in plain sight for years. Meanwhile, Camron remained silent, which was loud for a man known for his bold statements and witty comebacks. Fans were waiting to comment and refreshing his page every hour, but nothing came up until a clip appeared. One that Cam most likely never wanted to see the light of day. In the leaked video, which was purportedly shot weeks prior to the fight, Cam is seen in a private studio session with a few close friends. He is calm, sipping a dark beverage and laughing when he says something that sent shockwaves through the culture. Let's face it, Jimmy isn't built for this anymore. He's stuck in the past. I've moved on, and there aren't any dips at the reunion forthcoming. He just isn't aware of it yet, other than posting a prayer emoji and writing Dan. Daki's posted some actual statistics to watch. And while the world was reacting, Jin was spiraling. He went live again. However, this time it wasn't a tirade. Rather, it was an honest, emotional outburst. Jim was seated in what appeared to be his home studio, with his hood drawn over his head, and he spoke directly to the camera. The worst part is that I'm not angry that he swung on me. I gave that man years of loyalty, and I watched people clone me and say that I was his shadow. I don't care because I believed in brotherhood, but this proves that everything people said was true. By the end of the stream, Jim was crying, saying, "I don't need your apology. I just needed you to never lie to me." Now that it's over, the fans were left stunned. This wasn't just a beef anymore, it was a complete collapse. Angry that we fought is what hurts. While Jim was grieving, Camron was preparing a different kind of comeback. At precisely midnight, Cam released a surprise freestyle on YouTube called Still Harlem. In less than 2 minutes, he set the internet on fire, saying things like, "We built castles, you brought termites. You're mad, I took flight. Now you're biting in spite of brother's turn, Judas." When the fame started to fade, he started crying online, saying things like, "We don't get paid, never needed a cosign, and loyalty isn't tears, it's how you behave." Jim's longtime partner, Chrissy, who is known for her nonsense attitude, took to Instagram with a caption that only deepened the mystery: "Loyalty is rare, watch who you bleed with." Immediately, speculation went wild about whether Chrissy knew about the betrayal before it all came to light. Whether she warned Jim, or whether she was the one who encouraged him to confront Cam that night. Damn, Cam went too far, Jimmy. Better respond or it's over. This beef is killing my childhood, although her voice isn't completely audible. Lip readers and fan investigators assert that Chrissy said, "You should have told him the truth, Cam. He ain't. Stupid, he knows now," as shown in the video from the opposite side of the club before the fight even begins. Chrissy was the one who discovered Cam's covert business dealings, and she forced Jim to face the man he had previously referred to as a brother. In any case, she was in the center of it all, and just when fans believed the drama had peaked. In a shocking interview with an exclusive sit-down, the former Love and Hip Hop producer revealed that Camron was offered a significant role to co-star with Jim in the show's early seasons. But he not only declined, but also allegedly told producers, "I ain't sharing screen time with the dude riding my coattails." It felt like ego played a bigger role than anyone realized. The blowback was immediate: Cam and jealous of Jim's TV. That comment was a shock to the culture, as many fans had assumed Cam didn't appear on the show for privacy reasons. The most moving moment came from an unexpected source: Jules Santana, the third pillar of Dipset, who had remained silent throughout the feud, finally broke his silence in an emotional Instagram live. "This is breaking my heart because we were more than just music, we were family, and seeing you all go at it like this is tearing me apart. But real talk, I saw it coming. We ignored the signs, we let ego eat away at the foundation, and success was not loyalty, this was envy disguised as silence." With a single tear streaming down his cheek, he ended his life. Perhaps he was correct, but the damage was done. And as both sides dug in their heels, the industry started to buzz with a rumor that would change everything. According to Leaf's legal documents, Cam was considering legal action over the viral claim that he sabotaged Jim's business deal. His legal team believed that the claim could be proven false and was causing irreparable harm to his brand, leaving the streets in shock. One question that loomed larger than ever before was whether there was ever truly a brotherhood at all, or if loyalty cracked under the weight of fame, money, and pride. If so, what other secrets are still hidden behind the curtain? According to one Harlem insider, there is more footage that was never meant to be seen. Footage that reveals the true reason Jim Jones lost trust in Cam. This goes beyond rap, and now that Cam is taking it to court, its legacy is unraveling in front of the world. And fans are picking sides. Those words weren't just dramatic. They were a warning, a prelude to something huge. Because what was about to happen had the potential to not only ruin Camron's legacy, but also to reveal the whole facade that Dipset had put up for almost 20 years. The glitzy image of brotherhood, loyalty, and Harlem pride was already beginning to crumble, but now it was about to do so. Behind the scenes, Jim Jones had mobilized his legal team, publicists, and digital strategists like a general getting ready for battle. And leading the charge was a mysterious folder known by insiders as the contents of the betrayal file were unknown, but rumors from the camp indicated that it included emails, voicemails, signed agreements, and even video clips, documents, and media that depicted Camron as not only disloyal but also dangerous to anyone who got too close. Several former Dipset associates are said to have contributed to this file, each of which confirmed years of dishonest behavior, missed opportunities, and emotional manipulation. Then, however, Jim didn't wait for the lawsuit to be resolved. He released a shocking clip from the betrayal file during a surprise YouTube premiere called The Truth About Camron Part 1, 5 minutes after it went live. By the first hour, it had reached 500,000 views. In the video, Camron is heard talking to a former manager without realizing he was being filmed. His voice is arrogant and confident. "I let him believe he made moves, but I pulled all the strings at once. When he got too big, I clipped his wings because I wasn't risking my shine for anyone." The fans fell silent, and he truly stated that this wasn't even a beef anymore. It was a betrayal. Even Cam's ardent supporters found it difficult to defend that same night. Jim went live again, this time from Harlem, the exact block where Dipset shot their famous "Oh Boy" video with fans, rather than from his home. Several blog outlets reported that his team was frantically trying to do damage control, but the fire was already spreading. The leaked clip, the arrogance, the manipulation, all of it was captured in his own words, and Camron still hadn't responded. Instead, his Instagram remained silent, and his story was blank. Rumors circulated that Camron was hiding out at a private villa in Florida. Refusing to speak to anyone, Jim stood under the streetlights, his hooded voice steady but blazing with emotion. "This isn't about me anymore. It's about the truth about how many people were taken advantage of for their loyalty, and how many brothers remained silent while he profited from their silence. He called me weak and said, 'I'm not the smartest. But let me tell you something really strong is when you take the high road, even when they spit on you.' He looked straight into the camera and said, 'Cam, if you watching, I hashtag SLIKE, hashtag betrayal file, hashtag DIPSET, destroyed, and hashtag Cam exposed trended worldwide. And even media outlets outside of hip-hop began covering the drama. Stone ran a headline from Harlem to Heartbreak, revealing Camron's ultimate betrayal. Meanwhile, deep within the shadows of the drama, someone else was preparing to speak. Chrissy Lehman. After days of silence, Chrissy took to Instagram with a video message that showed her speaking directly to the fans in a plain room without any music or filters. "Many people have been bringing up my name, so let me clarify that this isn't about me. Yes, I knew for a long time that Kay was playing both sides. I told Jim," and she paused, her eyes heavy with emotion. However, Jimmy loved Cam like a brother, and sometimes love blinds you. I stood by his side as he cried, questioning his value. And now that the truth is out, I hope everyone realizes who the real villain is. Fans were shocked to learn that Chrissy had known all along and had remained silent out of love. But now that her silence was over, Camron's camp attempted to cast doubt on him. One of his colleagues recently removed a tweet that said, "Don't play holy now. There are no victims here. Everyone has skeletons." Mona Scott-Young, the queen of reality TV, the creator of Love and Hip Hop, and the person who spent years watching these men through the prism of reality television, didn't hold back in an exclusive interview with The Breakfast Club. "I saw the cracks years ago, but I never imagined it would go this far behind the scenes. However, the damage was already done, and just when the drama couldn't get any more intense, another voice entered. The mix. She dropped the bombshell Cam once instructed a producer. If Jim drowns, don't save him. That's how V learns." There were also tension Cam scenes where Jim and Cam fought repeatedly off camera, which we had to edit around. The room fell silent. Charlamagne appeared astonished, and DJ Envy blinked in shock as he claimed that Charlamagne requested just that. To which Mona replied that the betrayal wasn't only emotional, but also psychological and harsh. All of a sudden, began going over all of the Dipset videos, interviews, and clips from Love and Hip Hop again. And people began to notice the tension they had been missing for years. The jabs, backhanded compliments, and avoidance were all there. We had just not noticed it. However, as Jim's reputation continued to decline, something unexpected happened, and Cam finally broke his silence on a surprise Instagram Live. There was no announcement or promo, and Cam showed up without a hat or jewelry. And for the first time in years, he looked exhausted. His voice was calm. "I see that you guys have the torches out, cool, and I wasn't perfect. But what you guys aren't going to do is pretend that I didn't carry this entire brand for years. That I made Dipset hot, that I put Harlem on my back, and that maybe I made some selfish decisions. But don't act like I was the only one with demons. Jim isn't an angel. He knows that, and Chrissy has her own agenda too." He paused and said, "You want to tell the truth, Jim? Tell him about the time you tried to keep me out of the album deal, or when you told Rock Nation that I was a liability. We both did dirt, but I ain't airing you out to gain influence that ain't Harlem. It was a feeble attempt at redemption, and fans weren't buying it. Too little, too late. Want to appear modest, but even worse." His comment section was overflowing with screenshots from part 2 of Jim's documentary, which was released a few hours later. These screenshots included emails that showed Kay attempting to undermine Jim's shoe deal with a luxury brand. At this point, Cam's reputation was in ruins. He canceled his planned appearance at a fashion event in Los Angeles. His merchandise store temporarily closed. And there were rumors that one of his endorsement deals was being reviewed because of the controversy. Meanwhile, Jim was soaring, receiving praise for his courage, honesty, and emotional openness, even from Charlamagne. The God Ho had previously criticized Jim and posted, "Never thought I'd say this, but Jim might be the realest out here, right? Now, salute." Then it was revealed that a Dipset track from 2010 had been leaked, featuring Jim and Cam, as well as a surprise third verse by Kanye West, who had previously worked with Dipset on a covert project that was never completed because of internal strife. In his verse, the rap's two kings from Harlem by the end of the week. The Dipset name were no longer a symbol of unity, but rather a warning and cautionary tale. And with the court case looming, careers hanging by a thread, and fans emotionally spent, one last question remained. Is there any chance of forgiveness? According to Mona Scott-Young, she has one last unreleased reunion clip that might hold the answer, and she's thinking about releasing it. Blood in the streets, you don't see it now, but history repeats. Even Kanye saw the writing on the wall 10 years ago. The answer was Mona Scott Young's last terrifying tease at the end of her explosive interview. For weeks, fans had been drowning in the chaos of leaked files, emotional confessions, and courtroom threats. But now they were hooked on the idea that, somewhere in the archives of hip-hop and love, a forgotten moment might explain everything. A clip that might reveal whether Jim and Cam ever had a chance at peace, or whether this tragedy was inevitable. The internet went crazy, with hashtags claiming that the clip started trending across Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, and viewers flooded Mona's inbox, even confirming that celebrities joined the movement. Then, on a random Thursday night at precisely 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Mona Scott uploaded a black screen to her official YouTube channel with the title, "Dipset, the Lost Reunion Neighbor AD. No countdown, no trailer, just silence." Reality stars posted videos of themselves with the caption, "We need the footage." Then the video started. The scene was a dimly lit Love and Hip Hop reunion set that was shot sometime in 2020 during a surprise segment. Jim and Chrissy had agreed to appear on a look-back episode, but nobody had anticipated that Camron would enter halfway through. The atmosphere was tense, and as soon as he did, Jim stiffened in his seat and Chrissy turned away. The audience was silent and there was no applause. Justin tried to act cool, but Matt joked that he didn't expect a welcome. "Is there still love between you two?" The moderator asked them, desperately trying to keep the atmosphere calm. There was a long silence before Cam said, "It's always been love, but I can't lie, I was hurt to everybody acting like I was the only one making moves behind backs. Jim had deals I ain't know about, meetings I wasn't invited to, and he tried to cut me out just the same." The audience whispered, but Jim didn't pretend that Cam didn't start that war. "I saw the messages and meetings he concealed, and Jim remained loyal even when he shouldn't have been." The studio audience erupted, and Cam's face tightened. "So we're doing this now? You're trying to play the victim by lying to me and calling me your brother." The tension was unbearable. And then suddenly Chrissy stood up enough that you both heard each other and let your egos get in the way of something lovely, he said. "This isn't TV, bro. This is life, and this is real." The clip ended abruptly, with no handshake, hug, or resolution. But it was sufficient to confirm that Jim and Cam had one last confrontation in which truths were shared but wounds remained open. Social media lit up once more, and as Cam entered the lion's den with Chrissy, Bean holding that smoke, you could see the pain in Jim's face. It washered, breaking, and real. But just as Mama's clip sparked a flurry of emotions, another crisis broke out when a hacker leaked more than 100 pages of legal documents. In addition to court filings, Cam's lawsuit discovery documents contained private text messages between Dipset members, internal emails from Cam's management, and business contracts. In one thread, Cam's manager wrote, "Keep Jimmy out of the meeting. The client doesn't want him. Cam can spin the PR." In 2018, Cam negotiated a documentary agreement regarding Dipset without Jim's involvement. According to another document, fans were he truly attempted to remove Jim from the legacy, which is not betrayal but rather career assassination. Meanwhile, Jim's legal team seized upon the leak, arguing that it only strengthened their defense against Cam's defamation suit. Everything our client has said has now been confirmed by the opposing party's own documentation. Cam's team issued a frantic press release, accusing Cam of a cybersecurity breach and threatening additional lawsuits. But the damage was already irreparable. Then came the turning point, when Cameron's mother, Frederica Giles, made a statement about the beef that she hadn't previously discussed in public until now. However, she shared a picture of Cam and Jim from the early 2000s on a calm Saturday morning with a heartfelt caption, "I watched these two boys grow into men, and I saw them laugh together, struggle together, and succeed together. It breaks my heart to see what they become. Pride is a poison, and I hope that one day they remember what it meant to be brothers." Supporters flooded the comments with messages, and for the first time in weeks, the tone started to shift. Some called for peace, while others hoped for a reunion. But most people just wanted the suffering to end, because, at this point, it was tragic rather than amusing. They took my baby's kindness for weakness. I watched him remain silent when he should have spoken, but now you all see what I always knew. A few days later, Jim made an appearance in another tearful live, this time with his mother Nancy, Mama Jones, sitting next to him. She turned to Jim and said, "You did right, even if it hurts." Despite the painful moment in which fans and the culture both wept, Cam mostly kept quiet until another shocking video surfaced online. 'Twas a voice message from 2021 Cam talking to someone directly. His tone was soft and different, saying, "I miss Jimmy sometimes. No cap, we were brothers for real. We make history, just wish it didn't end like this. Maybe in another life we fix it, but this one, too much damage." The video hit like a truck, and some fans forgave him, while others didn't. But everyone agreed that this story was no longer about who was right or wrong. It was about a friendship that was lost forever. The music industry reacted by having several artists organize a tribute concert without Cam. Joe Santana confirmed that Cam would be the main act. Kate and Chrissy was supposed to show up and speak, but Cam did not invite him. Fans were shocked, saying that Cam was like Wu-Tang without RZA, but he brought this on himself. As the tribute rehearsals got underway, Jim told the media, "This ain't revenge, this is healing. I'm doing this for the fans, for the memories, for Harlem." The tribute show was scheduled for next month, and tickets sold out in minutes. As the date drew near, Camron finally broke his silence one last time by sharing a black and white photo of himself and Jim from 2003 with the caption, "You win, bro. I hope you happy. I really do." There were no hashtags, videos, or live comments, just a broken sentence. Jim's response to the question of whether Cam would ever be welcomed back was straightforward. He'd have to do more than just talk. He'd have to feel it, and I don't think he does. It was the kind of pain you don't recover from. Not the kind you cry about for a night and move on, but deeper. Older wounds that had been festering in silence for years and decades. Even the public had watched Jim Jones and Camron rise from the Harlem pavement into global stardom, build a brand, a movement, and an empire. But Jim never responded. Some wounds, after all, don't heal. Some wounds, after all, don't heal. It fall apart in the most tragic way possible. The fallout from Cam's last post, "You win, bro," had a ripple effect on the culture, like a silent tsunami. There were no more heated arguments or fiery diss tracks, just silence and grief. The world continued to move forward without Cam, and even in that silence, the tribute concert continued to go on. The night of the show was cold, but the energy in Harlem was electric, with fans lining the block hours before doors opened. Some of them were at the Apollo Theater was filled with old heads, new fans, and people who just wanted to be a part of history on stage. The lighting was blood red and icy blue, colors long associated with Dipset's rebellious brand. Jim Jones walked onto the stage alone, and the crowd erupted. This time, there was no cocky smile, no flashy coat, just a Jim hoodie up chain, and his eyes were glassy with emotion. His handmade signs read, "We still believe and loyalty over legacy." Before speaking, there was almost a full minute of silence. I never thought I would be doing this show without him, but sometimes people leave. You with no other option. He paused and said, "Tonight isn't about beef. It's not about drama. It's about everything we built. Everything we gave to Harlem, to hip-hop, to the world." The crowd roared, and then Jules Santana, Ricky, Zicky, and even unexpected guests like Fat Joe Chatticus and Remy Ma arrived, all of whom paid tribute to Dipset and the broken bond that once held it together. When Jim performed I Mean It Alone, standing where Cam when he stood there reciting both his own verses and Cam's. The audience screamed back at him, every lyric like a choir trying to fill the void. Tears were streaming down faces, even in Jim's. And somewhere, possibly from a studio or from his phone, Camron was silent, didn't post, didn't react. Just wasn't there, because that's what this feed had become. A void where loyalty used to live. Weeks went by. The tribute concert turned into a legend. Memes died down. The lawsuit stalled. And as with all viral stories, the public moved on. But behind the scenes, Jim Jones released a short film called Final Warning. His final word on the subject featured shots of empty thrones and footage from Harlem past dips. And the message was that sometimes the enemy wore your own colors. Sometimes the snake lived in your shadow, and sometimes the villain was your brother. It was a cinematic eulogy, and with that, Jim closed the book, stopped posting, stopped doing interviews, and stopped taking pictures. He continued without Cam. When the dust settled, the fight between Jim Jones and Camron wasn't just a viral scandal. It was a modern tragedy, a tale of ego betrayal and the cost of silence. A reminder that even the strongest bonds can break, and even the biggest names can fall. Although the fans will never forget the legacy they built, they won't forget how it ended. He vanished from the public eye without Dipset, but with peace and Cam. Rumors circulated that he moved to Miami, while others claimed he retired. Jim Jones and Camron went from sharing stages to exchanging gunfire, from celebrating victories to revealing wounds, and what they had witnessed was more than just a fight. It was the demise of an empire. A brotherhood that inspired millions came crashing down in a whirlwind of betrayal, receipts, and heartache. And their current silence speaks louder than words ever could. But the true question is, was it all ego? We want to know if there was an opportunity for forgiveness that was lost along the line. Do you think Jim and Cam will ever reconcile? Is this Dipset's last chapter? Or is this merely a painful interim before redemption? Please share your thoughts in the comments section. What was the most shocking scene for you? Who do you believe? Was more at fault? In the end, what does loyalty mean to you? Please remember to like this video to ensure you don't miss any updates from the wildest. Click the notification bell and look for more surprising celebrity drama, several facets of the entertainment industry.